Hello everyone, how are we all doing? I hope you're doing well, and if you're not doing well, I hope today will make you feel better. It's actually something I'm hoping will make me feel better because I'm feeling a bit meh. You know, that's not really a feeling, but that's how I feel right now. I'm very much in a bit of a lost headspace, a bit of an overwhelmed, lost headspace. I don't really know what's going on. I don't really know what to do about it. Well, I didn't until I came up with this list of things to share with you. I've basically been sat here thinking, what is going on? What is it? What is it that's making me feel like this? Why can't I get myself going? And this feeling that I've had for about 2 weeks now. And every single day, I don't want to get out of bed, don't want to do anything. I'm not enthusiastic about anything. I'm not excited about anything. I don't really want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I just want to chill in the evenings. And I'm like, what's going on? Because a few weeks ago, I was so like happy and excited and I wanted to do all these things and I wanted to be busy. And then I've just kind of got into like a slump, and it's just like, you know, when you start going down the hill and then before you know it, you're really going down the hill and going quite fast. That's how it's like a slippery slope, and I've just gone right down into it, and I'm like trying to get myself back out of it, and I'm really, really struggling. And because of that, I thought it could be a good way to bring up the topic of feeling overwhelmed and talk about it, because we all get overwhelmed and we all get in this headspace at some point in our lives. And I think right now there's a lot of it's like a really weird patch, right? So we've kind of got towards the end of winter. It's still winter, we all very much know that, but we're at the kind of end of it, which is the worst time to be in. I feel like this time of year is like a really sticky part of the year, because winter's been and gone, Christmas is gone, the whole January is gone, but spring is not here yet. And I know that a lot of people don't necessarily live their lives through seasons, but I think that the first couple of months, even the first 3 months of the year, are kind of a bit crap. Nothing really exciting in general life terms happens in the first quarter of the year. You don't really have any bank holidays, you don't have like really fun events, you don't really tend to have like lots going on in terms of like society and life, and like you don't have festivals and things like that. So in terms of like a fun time of year, the start of the year ain't fun at all. So I think that a lot of us do tend to get a little bit lost at this time of year, because it's like spring's not here yet. The fun of spring and what spring has to offer and what spring brings hasn't started yet, but we're so over winter and we're done with that. And you then start to feel like you're in a like weird in-between stage where part of you like feels like you should still be in winter and part of you is dying for spring, and you just can't figure out what the next step is. And for me, obviously, my main passion, my main love in life is passion for fashion. Ooh, I hate that. I remember when I was at uni and I'd say, they would be like, you can't say passion for fashion. It is the worst saying ever. Don't put it on anything. But yeah, my like love is fashion and clothes, and I am literally stuck at this point because I really want to be wearing like fun spring clothes and like really, you know, expressing spring through my clothes, but I can't whilst it's not freezing out. The weather's not there, the inspiration's not there. I feel like it's just the end of a season. And you know what is so mad? I feel like the end of winter is the sticky period that we're in right now is worse than any other season change, because when we go into spring, okay, we're going into spring, which is super exciting, but then after spring it goes into summer, so the transition's pretty easy. We're just waiting to wear more, like less clothes essentially. Then from summer to autumn, summer really kind of gradually goes into autumn. I don't think it's really like a shock to the system at any point. It kind of gradually goes and you just add like a few more layers, and it's like, it can be a bit depressing after summer, but I don't think there's no like sticky ground. I think because summer kind of elongates into, I would say, into September, and then when you get to October, you start thinking about Halloween, and then it starts to get those like that kind of festivity seasons going. And then you start to think about Christmas. So, and then obviously autumn to winter is an easy transition. I just find winter to spring to be a really tough like time of year. And at the start of the year, no one's doing anything anyway. So I think that doesn't help. Like there's not a lot going on. And one thing I always forget is that this time of year is always like this. I think we all just get a little bit like, because the rest of the year is so good, when January, Feb rolls around, we're like, oh my God, what is this? It's like the worst time of the year. And we always forget because the rest of the year is so good. And I'm not saying that Jan and Feb are like the worst time ever and like you can't have fun in these months at all. But I think in a general, in general, it's just not the best time of year. I think everyone can agree that there's not a lot that goes on at this time of year, and it can just be a little bit of a rubbishy feeling. And I'm definitely feeling it. I wasn't feeling it so much at the start of the year. I felt very much like energized. I think I was ready to start a new year. A lot of crap happened last year and I just really wanted to start afresh. And already I feel like way better than I did last year, that's for sure. So that's really good. But at the same time, I still feel like I've kind of had that fun Jan bit where I was like, yeah, woo, I'm gonna exercise. I'm like so excited, woo. I don't know why I'm doing this like dance move. Anyway, and now I've hit the point where I'm like, ugh. It was like a high and now I've hit the low. Some people start with the low and then they get high. I definitely have started with the high and got low. But then I was working on lots of things with work and that was really fun. So I think because of that, I had quite a lot of momentum. And whilst I am still working, I'm not working on anything right now. I am working on stuff right now is what I meant to say. But I still feel very lost. Everything's a little bit slower, which is totally fine. But I just feel a little bit like, what am I doing? Coming, going, moving. I don't know. Who knows? So yeah, it's just one of those things. I can't work out whether it is just the time of year. I do think it is a big chunk of why, especially if you're also feeling like this. It might just be the fact that it's the time of year because it's a slog at the moment. But on the positive side, we are soon going to be into March. And I'm a March baby, in case you wanted to know. And I'm going to be 28. And I'm kind of just excited about it. March doesn't bring much more excitement, really, to be honest, other than the fact that the weather semi gets better. Spring starts in March, so that's good. Clocks go forward. So the mornings get lighter, which I'm so here for. I'm loving the longer days, though, I would admit. It is lighter in the evenings now, which means like I don't have to worry about stressing about leaving the house at a certain time around 5 o'clock. I can actually leave at 5 o'clock and it still be light, which is quite nice. So I am loving that. That is a positive change. That is a positive thing we can think about. The days are longer and I love it when the days are long because I just feel so much better. I don't really feel very productive when it's dark, I won't lie. But the weather itself, yesterday was beautiful and sunny. Today, not so much. It's like thick cloud. No blue sky, no sky in sight whatsoever. So yeah, the weather's not so great. And I'm really dying. I don't know about any of you, but I'm dying to see some leaves on the trees. And I know we're not in spring yet, so I can't really expect it to happen now. But like the tree outside of my flat, when it's got leaves on it, it's so nice. I feel like I'm kind of like in the trees because there's like a row of trees. It's not just one tree out my side of my flat. Anyway, not the point. And I just can't wait to be able to like look out of my window and be like, spring has sprung. I'm very excited. When I moved into my flat, it was in the middle of summer and it was such a nice, beautiful, like just seeing the trees. I can just see the block of flats like on the other side of the road, which isn't offensive, but you know, you just would like to see some leaves. I'd really like to see some leaves. But anyway, I thought today we could talk about some tips and things you can do to make yourself feel better in this kind of like overwhelmed feeling, because I'm sure I'm not the only person. And if you're listening to this at a completely different time and it's not spring and it's summer or it's winter or autumn or whatever, whenever it is, hopefully these things will help you to feel less overwhelmed or know where to start with it, because feeling overwhelmed is something that we all get at any time of the year, at any point. We all get it. And and feeling lost kind of comes along with it, I think, because you're not just going to feel lost. I don't think there's always something that's triggered that feeling of feeling lost. And for me, often the feeling is just being like overwhelmed, because I find that the reason why I get overwhelmed is because I have so much on my mind, and it's not just like one particular area of my life, it's every single thing going on. So for instance, it might be like I might have quite a few work things that I want to work on, or things I want to do, but then I'm also thinking about, oh, I need to do that, and then I need to do all this housework, I need to do that, I'm doing this on the weekend, I need to buy that person that present, and I need to get this, and then I need to do that, oh, if I take this day off I can't do that, and I need to film that. And I just get so like, it almost gets so like built up in my head that then I get to a point where I'm like, okay, it's full and I can't get any more in there, and I don't know what to do next. Where do I start? And I think for me right now, the feeling of overwhelmedness, that is not a word, the feeling of being overwhelmed comes from the fact that I have got lots of like work things I want to try and achieve, but I also want to kind of live my life, and I also want to plan things for my birthday, and I also I'm really excited for the new season, but it's not here yet. Just a lot going on, but like not in a bad way. I think I just don't feel as excited about things right now as I used to, or I did at the start of the year. And I do think I will gain that excitement again. It's just not happening right now, and that's okay. It's okay to have those moments where you're not excited about things. I think, you know, it's lovely and great to try and be positive a lot of the time, but we can't be positive all the time, and we can't always be the happiest people ever. And if there was ever a time to feel low or not feel great, it's now, because nothing's going on. And, you know, I don't really have any plans, like not any major plans right now where I need to kind of keep myself going. Like I've got things going on, but nothing that's like, okay, you need to get with it, get with the program. But I don't need to worry right now. And I'm sure you don't need to either. But to be honest, I think that when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's the main thing that comes from feeling overwhelmed, and the first thing you've got to think about is your mindset. Most of the time when you're feeling overwhelmed and lost, your mindset is the one thing that is kind of stopping you from taking that next step and like figuring out what to do next. Because the reason why you might be feeling overwhelmed is because your head is just not in the right headspace to tackle all of the things that you need to tackle. And mindset is something that's easier said than done, but also something you can really easily change as well. So for instance, if you're waking up in the morning and you can't get up because it's dark, or you're struggling to get up, because believe you me, I'm struggling too, even though it is lighter. I wake up at 7:30 usually, unless I'm doing Pilates in the mornings. I wake up at 7:30, and if I'm doing Pilates I wake up at like 5 to 6, because Pilates starts at 7 and I have to get ready and then leave the house to get there. Anyway, you don't need to know that. So I wake up at 7:30 and it's light at 7:30. It's not dark, but it's not like sunny or like bright necessarily, because it's still it's like that start of the morning where it's like still a bit dull and dark. It hasn't really brightened up yet. So I still struggle at the moment to get up. I find it so much easier to get up when it's sunny in the mornings, when it's bright, when it already feels like you've woken up, like it feels like you've had a lie-in almost. I like those kind of mornings, but we haven't got to that point yet. And so I'm really struggling, and I have a Lumi light. I do rate a Lumi light. I think they're really, really good if you struggle with getting up in the mornings when it's dark out. Obviously, it's probably not necessarily the right time of year to get one now, but if you are thinking about it, I would highly recommend it. I find that if I'm waking up, say for instance in the winter, it's 7 a.m, it's dark outside, it just adds light to your room without you having to turn anything on, which I think is really, really good. Because if you use your phone as an alarm and you're like setting it, and then obviously it goes off at 7 a.m, if your room's pitch black, it's 10 times harder to get up. Whereas with a Lumi light, the alarm goes off at 7, but it's already lit up the room with the light, so you haven't had to turn any light on. It's not like shocking you awake. It kind of gradually helps to wake you up. So I do really rate a Lumi light, and that has definitely helped a lot with that kind of wake up routine. Anyway, I'm really going off on a tangent here. when you wake up in the morning, often like one of the feelings you'll feel when you wake up is that you feel really groggy, like you can't be bothered. You're like, oh no, just 5 more minutes. Or it's like, oh, I don't want to get up, I don't want to do it. And like, I think that a good morning mindset, a good morning routine is honestly the best thing to start in your day. And it's easier said than done, because believe you me, after the last few weeks, I have not wanted to get out of bed. I've not really wanted to be super productive like in the morning. All I've wanted to do is get up and eat and sit on the sofa. And then I can't seem to get myself like going quick enough. So it's really good to have a good like morning routine. And one thing I actually learned from TikTok was, I can't remember who said it, so don't quote me exactly to what I'm about to say, but it was about how when you wake up, the minute you wake up, you know that feeling when your body's awake or your brain's awake, but your eyes aren't, you kind of like start to stir. That 10 minutes of when you first wake up is when your subconscious mind is listening and is playing into part. Usually your subconscious mind, I don't know why, I feel like subconscious is at the back, right? Anyway, your subconscious mind is ticking over. So that is what it kind of carries a lot of the thoughts and feelings that you have, I think. Don't quote me. So like it kind of takes in a lot of things and holds things. So when you first wake up, that's when you should be thinking the most positive thoughts, the most good vibes feeling, saying affirmations to yourself maybe to get you into that positive mood, because that is what helps you the most in feeling good. I think that's what he said, something along those lines. And I would say it's true, because when you first wake up, if the first thing you say to yourself as soon as you wake up is, oh, I don't want to get out of bed, oh, I don't want to do this, instantly you're setting yourself up for like a more negative headspace, even though you're not necessarily going to have like a bad day or anything like that. It's just those like little things can really help, you know, speed along that like negative feeling that you might be having. Now, it is easier said than done, so I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, do you know what, just say positive things and you'll be fine, because it's not that easy. I've been trying to do it, and I do think some days it really works if you're really in the mood and you're like, you wake up and you think, oh, I've got something good today, or I'm doing something good today, or you've got a plan, or do you know what I mean? Those things kind of really can boost you. But for some mornings, sometimes it just doesn't work. But I think that starting your morning and your mindset in the morning is quite honestly the best place to start, because when you're starting your day right, then hopefully that will encourage the rest of your day to go right. Obviously, not every day is going to be perfect. Some days are going to be a bit crap. Some days are not going to go how you think they're going to go. And just because you decide you want to be happy in the morning doesn't mean to say you're going to feel happy all day. But if you can start to get yourself feeling a little bit more, you know, maybe put in some positive thoughts, positive affirmations in the morning, maybe do some things that make you feel good, then that mindset that you have in the morning should hopefully carry you out throughout the day. Now, obviously, it is hard to do this because I'm sat here telling you this as a tip, and it's something I've been trying to do, and I can't seem to get myself out of this like low vibration at the moment. But I don't see it as like a super low vibration. It's just something where I feel a little bit like, whoa, what am I doing? And in the mornings, I'm waking up like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go today. I don't know what I'm doing. So I think that going forward, I'm definitely going to try and get myself a little bit more, come on, get up, go, like kind of almost talk to myself like I'm a parent to myself. That kind of sounds weird, but you know how when I don't know, you do something and you kind of tell yourself off, like when you drop something on the floor and you're like, oh, for God's sake, why are you doing this? I do this to myself all the time. Like sometimes I'll just keep spilling things and I'll be like, Charlotte, what are you doing? So in the morning you could be like, Charlotte, come on, wake up, get out of bed. Sometimes I'll sit on my phone in the mornings because I don't want to get out of bed straight away. And I literally have to be like, Charlotte, come on. I actually have to like speak it out loud. Charlotte, get out of bed. Because sometimes it feels like I'm actually telling myself to do it. Does that make sense? Another thing that I also saw on TikTok regarding mornings and like waking up, I think I saw this yesterday. It was like, again, I can't remember who said it, but she's like a famous person that talks about things. I can't remember what her name is. She's been on a lot of podcasts and stuff. But she was saying how when you wake up in the morning, you shouldn't just snooze your alarm and go back to sleep. You should literally get up as soon as your alarm goes off. Because if you wake up and you go and snooze your alarm, You then go back into a sleep cycle. Every sleep cycle, I think she said, was between 75 and 90 minutes. And if you are snoozing your alarm and going back to sleep for those 10 minutes, you're starting a new sleep cycle, because often when you do that, you tend to go into deep sleep because you're still tired. You just go straight back into sleep. And it means that if you then snooze that alarm, you then go back into a new sleep cycle, and you start a new sleep cycle, which is 75 minutes to 90 minutes usually, but you're only sleeping for like 9 minutes or 9 or 10 minutes, because that's how long the snooze lasts for. So then when you then wake up, you feel groggy because you've started a sleep cycle and not finished the sleep cycle. So that's why you end up feeling groggy, and you feel groggy for a long period of time throughout the day, because it takes, like, I think she said 4 hours for that grogginess to go. So it's better off just getting out of bed and just starting a day than laying there and snoozing your alarm. And I want to say this from experience, because my dad has always said this to me. He's always said this to me. When your alarm goes off, get straight out of bed, because it will make you feel more alive and more awake than you think it will. And he is right, because I've tried it and tested it quite a few times, and he is right. The minute your alarm goes off, just get yourself out of bed. Like, just get yourself out of bed. Don't lie in bed for any longer than you need to. Get yourself out of bed, because I promise you, you will feel more awake doing that throughout the day than you will if you laid in bed a bit longer. I don't listen to myself often enough, because I know I should do that and I don't. And I genuinely think it's like one of the best things that, it's one bit of advice I think everyone should know, is when your alarm goes off, get out of bed straight away. Obviously, if it's a weekend or you don't need to get up, you don't have anywhere to be, or maybe if you're trying to get out of this groggy feeling that you might be feeling recently, try it and see if it works. You don't have to get up stupidly early, but if you feel like it might help you, then definitely give it a go. I have found it helps a lot. When I used to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning, I used to do it, and it really, really helped me get through the day, because I was traveling into London. It would take around 2 hours from door to door, and then 2 hours home in the evening, and I needed to keep myself going over that time. So yeah, definitely give it a go. But all in all, mindset is something that's really important when it comes to feeling overwhelmed. Get yourself in a positive mindset as best you can. Maybe try and change a few things within your routine, morning, night, whatever, that might make you feel a little bit more positive. Add in a few things that make you feel good, that make you, feel more positive. And then hopefully those little things and your mindset will start to shift. I think mindset is obviously down to the individual. Everyone is different. You can't just click your fingers and switch your mindset. Sometimes you have to add a few things into your routine and build that mindset back up. But you can get there, and you will get there. It just needs a bit of work. You can't just click your fingers and hope the best and expect yourself to be great the next day. It doesn't work like that. Just give yourself a bit of time and keep at your mindset. Add a few more positive things. Add in some affirmations to your day. Maybe, stay clear of anything that might be making you feel negative, and just, start afresh, and hopefully your mindset will start to drift back into that good feeling, rather than being in this like lost, overwhelmed patch. Do you know what I mean? And then once you've kind of discovered that, okay, I can try and change my mindset, the other thing you need to think about is why. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? What is it going on in your head that's making you feel this way? And my ultimate top tip when you're feeling overwhelmed, you've got a lot going on in your head, is to write a list of every single thing that is going on in your mind. It could be the longest list, the shortest list, it could be the most random list. Just write everything down. You know how some people say that talking your feelings out can really, really help to like release things? I genuinely believe this is true, and that's why a lot of people speak to therapists, because you can talk about all of those things going on in your mind, and it like offloads it, right? And I think when you're feeling overwhelmed, often you need to offload all of those things that are going on in your brain, and all of those things that are making you feel this way, so that you can then take the next step. Because you can't take the next step if you can't understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. And often, as much as you might be sat there thinking, I don't know why I'm feeling overwhelmed, you do know. You absolutely do know. You know deep down what is making you feel that way, because there's no way you don't. And there's the amount of times I've said to my friends, and be like, I feel really strange, or I feel in a mood, and they're like, why? And then you're like, I don't know. And then you're like, no, it's because of this. Because you do know what it is. Sometimes it might be an accumulation of things. Sometimes it might be one thing. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, you do often have a lot of things going on in your brain in general. Write them down. You could do them in different lists. So maybe you have like a work one, personal life, housework, whatever it is, all the things that are going. Maybe you have a child, so you need to like think about them, whatever it is. Like have your little different like headers, and then write lists under different ones, or make one big list. And then when you've done those lists, highlight the things that you can do first, the things that won't take as much time, the things you can tick off. Because once you start to tackle those things that are within your list and figure out why you're feeling that way, then you can start to get yourself back on top of all of those feelings that you're having, and get back to, you know, feeling like more steady rather than feeling like all over the shop. But feelings are definitely something you have to think about in this situation. Like really like feel your feelings and accept that, you know, it's okay to feel like this. It's okay to feel overwhelmed and lost and not really knowing what you're doing. But write the list and get it out. Maybe speak to someone like a friend or something if you're really feeling overwhelmed, and be like, look, I don't know what to do. Like these are all the things going on in my head. And sometimes all you need is just realize what you've got going on, what's in your head, what you're worrying about, and just start ticking off those little things that you can tick off. Maybe you highlight the things you can tick off that are easy, that you can get done quick. Maybe that's pop into the post office to post a parcel or whatever. What things can you tick off quicker that, you know, will make your list shorter and make you feel like you've actually achieved something? Because often starting with the smaller things, the shorter things, the things that don't take up so much time, can then make your list feel like you've actually done things, and then you don't feel so like overwhelmed with all the things you have to do. But also another thing you can do is cross off the things you can't control. So we all have these things. We all know these things. There's things out there that will bother us, worry us, make us feel a certain way, and we can't control them. So what you want to do in this list is literally black line, maybe get a Sharpie, scribble it cross out the things you can't control, because instantly those things are things you don't need to worry about, or you can't really do anything to support right now. So then you have a list left of things you can do quickly and things that you can like focus on to start with, and then the things that you generally have to do, and all of the things you can't control are gone. So then you only have the things you really need to focus on there in front of you. And then I reckon you'd feel so much better, because you can only see what you actually have to do and what you actually need to worry about initially. Obviously, like I said, easier said than done. You can't just do these things overnight, but it will help you to just visualize what you actually have to do and see it in front of you. If you're someone who is a visual person, this could really help. If you're not really a visual person, maybe you want to do it like bullet points or whatever. Like do it in a way that suits you. Obviously everyone is different. I am a visual person. I like to see it in front of me. You might find that just writing in a document, writing it down, or maybe just going through your head and thinking, okay, what is the most important thing? This. Another thing you will probably want to do in this situation, oh my God, I'm getting really uncomfortable, is to focus on the most important things. Everyone has things that have an importance, right? We all have tasks that are more important than others, and we always do the tasks that we want to do over the ones that are more important because they're more fun. Like for instance, I have a whole drawer of receipts I need to go through and file. Have I done it? No. When will I do it? I don't know. Do I want to do it? Absolutely not. Probably need to do it because it's getting out of control, but I don't want to do it because I don't enjoy it. That is probably a priority task in the grand scheme of things. Like I have to do it. I have no choice, but I will put it off because I don't enjoy doing it. Just do the tasks that take the time. Just do the tasks you got to do, because once you get them out of the way, oh, you feel so much better. That is probably one of the things that's making me feel overwhelmed, is my drawer of receipts. And when I tell you it's messy, oh my God, I opened it earlier and I thought, you need to sort this out. You need to add this to your to-do list ASAP. Come on. You can't just leave your drawer of receipts like this. I was like, oh my God, this is not good. But make sure you, in your list, look at the most important tasks, the tasks that are urgent and important, and start with those alongside the ones you can tick off quickly. Don't prioritize your ticking off quickly if you need to prioritize your urgent ones. Do you know what I mean? Like, you need to work out what's the most important. Obviously, I am talking generally here. You might have things that aren't necessarily things you have to do, but they might be things coming up. Maybe you have a few events that you need to pop into your diary, and you need to sit down, work out what you want to do and pop this into your diary, and know when to buy the present and know when to buy this and buy that. So yeah, list is a really, really good thing to do. Accept how you're feeling and write out all the lists, knowing what is causing that feeling and starting from there. Because I do think that when you have something that's making you feel a certain way, it does spiral everything else. And sometimes accepting that thing or trying to deal with that thing can really help. So for instance, I don't know, maybe someone on social media is really bothering you and you're just not really liking their content, and you're feeling a bit like, oh my God, I just don't want to see this. And it has triggered you in some way, because that's normal. Like, things can trigger you, and that's okay. What you can do in that moment in time, if that is bothering, that person's bothering you, mute them. Just get them out of your way for the moment. You don't need to hear them. You don't need to see them. Get them out of your way. They're clearly like having an effect on you. So maybe you just need to mute them. The mute tool on social media is there, and it's there for a reason. So use it. If something is bothering you on social media, but you don't really necessarily want to unfollow them, they're just making you feel a certain type of way, mute them. You haven't got anything to go by. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah, then you unmute them when you're feeling better. Sometimes just people can irritate you. And like, I'm sure sometimes I irritate people, and that's okay. We all get like irritated by things. But like, just do things that make you feel good and make you feel comfortable. And then, you know, hopefully it'll make you feel good in general. Another thing you can do is also journal. If you're feeling like you've got a lot of thoughts or a lot of feelings or a lot going on in your mind, maybe towards one particular thing that you really want to talk about, but maybe you don't feel comfortable talking about it with anyone, write it down. Write all your thoughts down. Writing thoughts down almost feels like you're talking to someone, which I think is really, really good. And it's nice to get it out and make yourself feel like you've spoken to someone. If you have someone around you to speak to someone, because it will help you so much. I genuinely find it so refreshing to have a conversation with like my best friend and just be like, I'm feeling this type of way, and we have a little discussion about it, and then that's it. And then I feel like I've spoken to someone. Well, I have spoken to someone, but it gets it off your chest. I think sometimes you do have to get these things off your chest rather than just bottling them up and keeping them inside, because that makes everything 10 times worse. I am always open to having a chat on the Still Got Time podcast Instagram, or my own Instagram, which is I am Charlotte Olivia. You can chat to me. I'm always open. I will always listen. I'll always sit there and listen. I might not be able to give you like 100% of my time, but I always listen. And if you want to just send me a message and just be like, you don't have to reply to this, I just want to say it to someone, say it to someone. Say it to me even. I am not going to tell anyone about it. I'll keep it anonymous. Obviously, I won't share anything. If you just want to have a chat about something, I'm here. And if you want a bit of advice, I'm always here to chat. You can always message me. I will always try my best to give the best advice that I can. So I'm always here to chat to. You can chat to your family, friends, speak to a therapist if that make you feel a little bit better. Sometimes it's nice to speak to someone you don't know, because then they're not going to judge you or make you sway a certain way. They're just going to talk to you in a nice way. So definitely think about that if that's something that, you know, you're worrying about in life, because it is hard to speak to people. So make sure you speak to someone you feel comfortable with, that's going to make you feel good after the conversation and not going to drag you down at any point, because that is not what you want. But I guess alongside that, when you're feeling like you want to talk about things, you get things off your chest, is reminding yourself that life is good. Everything is good. You're living a good life. You've got this life. It's all good. Don't stress. One thing I've really been trying to tell myself, especially in the last week, is that don't live for the I can't be bothered to do this. Live for the I get to do this. Because being able to do things is amazing. Like being able to get up in the morning and go to Pilates is something that a lot of people would love to do, but they can't, because maybe they can't afford to, maybe they aren't able to. Like sometimes I think about this with my mum, for instance, right? I can get up in the morning early, go to Pilates, do a workout, come home, still have a lot of energy for the rest of the day. My mum would never be able to do Pilates anymore. She isn't physically able to even like stretch like that. But my mum used to be super active, so I feel like my mum would die to do these kind of things these days, but she can't. And like there's probably many other people that would love to live my life, and I'm out here complaining. Well, I'm not complaining, but as in like I'm out here thinking, I can't bother to do this. Some people would love to do this. So try and look at it like, I get to do this. I get to wake up in the morning. I get to do these things. I get to go to work. I get to have this life. Try and look at it in that way rather than looking in it in a way where you're like, oh, I can't be bothered to do this. I don't want to do this. Like, don't get me wrong. I don't always want to go to Pilates in the morning. Absolutely not. I don't. I really don't. Sometimes I just can't be bothered. But at the end of the day, it always makes me feel better. And I always feel like it's a good thing to do in the mornings because it gets you going. But, you know, not every single day are you going to wake up and be like, yeah, woo, I get to do this. Yes, it's not always going to be like that. Sometimes you're going to feel shit, and that's okay. But where you can, on the days when maybe you wake up feeling quite good, or maybe you've got a good plan that day, which is already boosting your mood, try to think a little bit more positively in that sense and be like, yeah, today's going to be a good day. I get to do this. Obviously, as I've said before, easier said than done, but it's a good thing to add in if you're feeling like you need that little something, you know? Another thing that's important to do, which I think a lot of us probably need to do more of, is be kind to yourself. It's hard sometimes to always be kind to yourself because you might get annoyed with something that you did or whatever, but be kind to yourself. You are the most important person to you, right? You have to look after yourself just how you would look after someone else. If you're expecting, you know, to get an amazing treatment from a guy and be blown away by a guy, but you're not looking after yourself, then you're just not going to get the treatment you want. You're not going to meet the person you want to meet. Same with like getting a job, feeling comfortable with life, like achieving things. If you can't love the person you are and look after the person you are, it's going to affect everything else that goes on in your life. If you don't take time to recharge, reset, relax, and take time to understand why you're feeling this way, relax, rest. How many times can I say that? Honestly, I just think being kind to yourself and understanding that it's okay to feel a certain way is so important. And just be like, it's okay. If you want to take a rest day, it's fine. If you want to go out and get really drunk, that's also fine. If you want to see your friends because that will make you feel better, it's okay. Like, if you want to cut down on all your social activity that week, that's fine. Be kind to yourself. Accept that it's okay to feel this way, and accept that it's normal to feel this way, and just try and breathe through it. Breathing exercises is another good thing you can do if you're really starting to feel like chaotic maybe one day. Just do some breathing exercises, some meditation. Meditation is great, by the way, when you do it right. I've done meditation. Okay, so meditation is something I don't really know how to do that well, but I did it once and it sent me into like an almost sleep, but it wasn't a sleep. It was really weird. And I thought it was amazing. I just sat on my sofa, had it playing out the TV because I just searched on YouTube, and it was great. And it really relaxed my body. So another thing you can do if you're feeling quite overwhelmed is to just meditate and relax, because once you've got everything out of your head and like onto paper and you've started like going through all of the things that you actually need to do, then you can start to like give your body that bit of rest that it probably needs, because when you're overwhelmed, your brain is working overtime because you can't figure out what you're doing and there's so much going on. And whilst you might feel like you're resting in those moments because you're like, okay, I'm just going to chill because I don't really know what to do, you're not, because your brain's still going. I think my friend Meg shared a TikTok with me the other week that was like something to do with like, if you're resting, you need to actually rest and not feel guilty about it. If you're resting and feeling guilty about it, then you're not actually resting because you're feeling guilty, and that guilty feeling is not helping you rest. So if you are going to rest and you are going to take that time, you need to, one, not feel guilty about it, and just give yourself that time to really just take a step back, breathe, reset, feel good about it. I do have an episode on like recharging and resetting, which I did a few weeks ago. So definitely go listen to that if you're looking for ways to recharge, because recharging is a whole different ball game. But feeling overwhelmed is just something that there's so many stages to getting better. It's just you've got to tackle them slowly in a way that suits you. Obviously, be kind to yourself in the process, and do the things you can control and not focus on the things that you can't control, because when you focus on the things you can't control, you then end up like in a really sticky situation, being overwhelmed and focused on the things you can't control, because there are so many things out there in life that you can't control and you just have to deal with. Yes, they might make you feel a certain way, and that's totally okay, but try to focus on the things you can control and work towards those things, because that way you can really be in the best position possible, you know. But in terms of just getting back on top of feeling good, you're gonna get there. I promise you. I am in the same position as you right now. If you're listening to this and you're feeling the same, I am feeling very overwhelmed, but I'm going to get there. I'm just giving myself a bit of time to get to that point. I'm not stressing myself out. I'm not pushing myself too hard. I'm doing things that are important to do, because I have to work and I have to do tasks and I have to, keep on top of things, because this is my job and I need to do my job. But I'm also like giving myself a bit of slack. I'm saying, do you know what? You don't need to stress yourself out about that one thing. You don't need to do that now. You don't need to do that. But all of these other things you do need to do. All of these other things are important to do. And hopefully, I'll get back up to where I need to be. But I'm just cutting myself slack, just giving myself a bit of time. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, and it's okay to have this weird feeling, and it will pass, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember I was feeling really weird that week. Or you'll probably forget that you ever felt like this. It's so normal, whether you get it now, whether you get it in 3 weeks time, next year, next month, it's so normal, and don't stress about it. Once I finish this episode, I'm going to go sit down and I'm going to write down all of the things that are going on in my head, so I can start tackling my overwhelmed feeling and getting back to a stage of where I'm feeling more myself and excited about life. Because right now I don't have much excitement, which is weird because I have so many good things happening. So God knows why I feel like that. But yeah, just a reminder, you still have time to get yourself to where you want to be. You've still got time to feel less overwhelmed. You've still got time to get there. Give yourself time. You still have the time to give yourself time. And we'll all tackle this together. Do message me on the Still Got Time podcast Instagram, which is at Still Got Time Podcast. You can also follow the TikTok, which is Still Got Time Podcast, where I'll be sharing clips from the podcast, so you can keep up to date with maybe like little snippets of good inspirational information. And you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is Still Got Time Podcast as well, which you can watch this, which is super cool. So if you are watching, please do give it a subscribe, a thumbs up. Let me know you're enjoying it in the comments. I'd love to know. And if you are listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do give me a rating on Spotify. I'd really appreciate it. It means the world to me and really helps me as well. So yeah, and you can also email stillgottimepod@outlook.com if you want to send any topics or ideas. You can also DM me for upcoming episodes, or if you want me to talk about something, or if you just want to email me with how you're feeling about something. Obviously I'll always answer and read through them. So yeah, do send over anything you want me to talk about, or if you want to talk to me, I'm always here. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hopefully it helped you guys, and I will see you all next week. Bye.